To continue, you've listened to a long and complex case, murder in the first degree. A premeditated murder is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You've listened to the testimony. You've had the law read to you and interpreted as it applies in this case. It's now your duty to sit down and try and separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. Another man's life is at stake. If there's a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, a reasonable doubt, then you must bring me a verdict of not guilty. Now, if, however, there's no reasonable doubt, then you must, in good conscience, find the accused guilty. However you decide, your verdict must be unanimous. In the event that you find the accused guilty, the bench will not entertain a recommendation for mercy. The death sentence is mandatory in this case. You're faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, gentlemen.
The accused was an 18-year-old boy who was charged with murder in the first degree due to alleged premeditated murder. The deceased, or victim, is the accused father. There are two key witnesses in this case with several other evidences, and the relevancy of the evidence against the accused and in favor of the accused would be discussed with reference to the common law principles and Malaysian Evidence Act 1950.
I have no personal feelings about this. I just want to talk about facts. Number one, the old man lived downstairs under the room where the killing took place. At 10 minutes after 12 on the night of the killing, he heard loud noises. Said it sounded like a fight. And he heard the kid yell out, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard a body hit the floor. Ran to the door, opened it up, saw the kid running down the stairs and out of the house. Called the police. They came in, found the old man with a knife in his chest. The coroner fixed the time of death around midnight. Now, these are facts. You can't refute facts. The kid is guilty.
In this case, the oral evidence is relevant under Section 6 of the Malaysian Evidence Act. The construction of this Section 6 is aided with illustration A of this section. With that, although the series of events such as the accused fighting with his father, the accused yelling at his father, the sound that someone falling on the ground, and the accused running away from the house are not fact in issue, these facts fulfill the proximity tax under Tavanadon case, thereby they constitute the same transaction which is associated with the murder. Applying the doctrine of res gestae under the common law, which is in fact similar to Section 6 of our Evidence Act, the fact adduced by the old man is also relevant as res gestae for three principles identified through the common law cases. First, from the Ratton against Queen case, the facts are res gestae if they are continuous, immediate, and connected with the actual incidents. In this case, the act of fighting, making the threatening statements, and causing the father's body to hit on the ground is relevant because it portrays the cause and effect which is connected to the murder. Second, the court in Thompson against Trevanian accepted the statement accompanying a physical happening that is the same transaction. And third, in Salvadas against State of Vida, statements made by the bystander who saw the happening of the case is also relevant as res gestae. Therefore, we concluded that the statement made by the old man who saw the accused running from the house after the commotions are relevant to the charge. Now, I pass the floor to my teammate.
Section 7 of the Evidence Act refers to the facts which are the effect of the fact in issue. They are considered as the relevant fact. In this movie, the old man's testimony regarding the sound of the body hitting the ground right after the accused yelling to kill his father is a relevant fact because it could be the effect of the killing, causing the father felt tremendous pain and then fall onto the ground. Moving on to Section 8, the fact is relevant if it forms the motive for any fact in issue. Since motive is the circumstantial evidence, let's look at the previous conduct of the accused to prove its existence. Referring to Wong Feng Hing versus PP, the appellant's daughter want to report to police if the incident happened again. Their previous essential relationship could show that the motive of the appellant that is to prevent the daughter from reporting him. Meanwhile, citing DPP was a cure bond, circumstantial evidence has to work cumulatively. Hence, in this movie, apart from the accused vowing to kill his father, is associated with the old man's testimony that the father has abused the accused since 5 years old, and at that night, his father also hit him. All of this constitutes his motive to revenge. Under subsection 2 is also relevant for the conduct subsequent to and affected by the fact in issue. For example, the accused running down the staircase right after the hitting sound, referring to the case of Li Ling Chong vs. PP, absconding from the crime scene, is relevant fact. It infers the accused has been terrified, but this fact alone is not sufficient to infer guilty mind or manslaughter. Cited PP vs. Chia Leong Fu, it might also refer to other facts like yelling to kill. To sum up, the old man's testimony is the relevant evidence against the accused based on the Section 6, Section 7, and Section 8 of the Evidence Act.
I'd like to go over something, if you gentlemen don't mind. An important point for the prosecution was the fact that after the boy claimed he'd been at the movies during the hours that the killing took place, couldn't remember the names of the movies or the stars who appeared in them. This gentleman here has brought that point in here several times.
That's correct. It was the only alibi the boy offered, and he himself couldn't back it up with any details at all.
There are two evidence that in favor of the accused in the film. The first one is the alibi of the accused. This is the first evidence that in favor of the accused in the film was the alibi of the accused. In the movie, the police questioned the accused in the kitchen when he returned home at 3 a.m. The accused then said that he left the residence at 8 p.m. and watched a movie alone at 11 p.m. So the accused raised an alibi defense as the murder happened at 12:10 on the midnight, but the accused was not home from 11 p.m. to 12 on the midnight, 12 midnight. So his alibi has also been put in the police report, which was used as the documentary evidence with reference to Section 3, Section 74, Section 75 of the Evidence Act. Further, the accused had testified his defense of alibi by a sworn statement in court, which constitute an oral evidence under Section 3 of Evidence Act, and was corroborated by the previously given document evidence to prove that he was not at home when the murder occurred. The accused in this film was able to testify the name of the film and the names of actors who star in it.
Section 11A of Evidence Act prescribes that facts not otherwise relevant are relevant if it's inconsistent with any fact in issue or relevant facts. In the case of Muhammad Azwan bin Othman versus public prosecutor, accused is asserted as the accused who was physically aware from the scene of crime could not have committed it. In the movie, the fact that the accused was at the theater was relevant because they were inconsistent with the facts given by the old man and the lady, and they rendered the fact of presumption that the accused was the murderer highly improbable. Moving on to the case of Edwin bin Azim versus public prosecutor, that Section 11 does not require the accused to specify his whereabouts for the alibi to be acceptable. It is sufficient to show that he was at a distance. Similar position can be found in common law, where Al versus Rockford, that the court imposed such obligations on the accused to provide particulars of the alibi to assert that he was elsewhere at the material time. Since the accused in the movie is able to explain on the movie that he watched, it is sufficient for him to prove his non-existence. Thus, his alibi is relevant. In this case, an acquittal can be done if the jury had been assured of his guilt in view of the alibi evidence. This can be supported in Al versus Amuni, where Roden George concurred that if the alibi adduced is neither accepted by the jury nor rejected on the ground that it could reasonably be true, the accused is then empowered to be acquitted. Rather, most discussion revolved around Section 11B, for instance, evidence for previous similar offenses committed by the accused, which is not otherwise relevant, become relevant. It falls within similar facts, evidence under common law and is illustrated by Krishna versus R that evidence cannot be brought in by merely showing propensity but must have probative value or other grounds of relevance that compounds considerations.
Okay, aside from Section 11, Section 9 also can be used to establish inference that the accused might not be a murderer. The prosecution introduced the fact that the switchblade belongs to the accused, thereby it is a murder weapon of the accused by default. However, there's a doubt raised here because the reason why the accused fingerprint cannot be found on his switchblade. In this matter, the fact that the defendant was not in a murder scene was relevant under Section 9 of Evidence Act because it explained the missing link for the absence of the accused fingerprint on the switchblade. According to Section 103 of the Evidence Act, the onus of proof that the accused was not at home during the material time lies on the accused. This is also supported by the common law case R versus Johnson in the present movie, where the non-existence of the accused fingerprint provides an inference that the accused was not the one who holding the switchblade and stabbing it into his father because he was not at the home at that material time. This inference is collateral with his defense of the alibi. With that, the accused has discharged his onus of proof under Section 103 of Evidence Act.
So in conclusion, it can be said that relevancy is the core to the Evidence Act 1950 and also the common law principles, especially in determining the admissibility of evidence in cases. This has also been thoroughly explained by my teammates, especially in relation to Section 6 of the Evidence Act, which is very similar to the principle of res gestae of the common law principles, Section 7, Section 8, Section 9, and also Section 11 of the Evidence Act 1950. Only when the evidence is relevant to the facts in issue, it will become admissible in the cases. Therefore, from there, we can actually ascertain which evidence that can be used against or as a defense for the accused. It will not only help the judge in delivering the judgment, but in this case, the movie itself, it will help the juror to casting their votes with care. So that's all from us. Thank you.